Are we okay? We got to fucking... We've got to do the fucking... shit that we for fucking drug abuse. No! Are you listening?
Noble Cyborg Savage streamed last night, or it was yesterday, I'm not sure, but I did go back and listen to it. And there was a call on there I'd listened to before and briefly referenced, but this time I made it all the way through. And it's pretty telling. Let me tell you a story before I get into it, because it's relevant. I'm home from the Marines. I was stationed in Hawaii because we were constantly being shipped out to different places, and Hawaii is a great hub. I come home, and there was this girl that I'd always wanted to date. Because in high school, you use those terms, dating, boyfriend, girlfriend. I was at the Blue Moon Bar, and she's there, and I see a mutual friend of mine. And she brings her over, hey, this is Sean. She said, oh, I know who he is. And I was like, yeah, I know who she is, too. Of course, I had been spending the time at my mom's. I mean, there's no way she would because I only saw her like once a year, and it was when I had to leave. So we go back to the mutual friend's place, and 4 hours later, we finally go to bed. I will never forget that night. I'm not going to get into specifics, but trust me, we've all had it. We wake up the next morning, and it's like a couple hours more continuation, like someone had just hit pause. I go home, and I forget that I had told my mother that I would be back, and I didn't let her know. She's been sitting up all night. She is pissed. And I had to remind her, Mom, I'm a Marine. I'm an adult, but she's still my mom, right? So the point I'm getting at is, while that was a great night, it did not have a good ending. Because I disappointed my mom, and I didn't like the way she was when I walked in that door. So why did I bring that up? Because we know what would have happened if Winnie did not call him until the next morning. Even though she didn't say she was going to, Lorne would have had the same reaction my mom did. He'd have been pissed, and he would have been sitting by that phone waiting. And as soon as he got on there, he would have chastised her and belittled her and demanded to know why she didn't contact him. I talked about the owner and proprietor of the Trailer of Failure and his view of ownership yesterday, and this particular call, he goes above and beyond. But I want to talk real quick about that call we all know where Winnie was apparently sexually assaulted, and Lorne, how hard did you fight? And later he realizes, holy crap, that might have been wrong, in his mind, might have been wrong, so he lies to Emma. She's got the recording. Lorne still tries to lie because he's a piece of shit. Sexual assault, as we've said, is an inconvenience to him. And because she wasn't answering his call all day, he was already mad. He was already ticked off. And there was a guy within a block radius of her, so we know he was also pissed off about that. But this particular call, during Noble Cyborg Savage's stream, it's the one I talked about briefly. She was at a party. God, I do that all the time. She was at a party, eating a pretzel and drinking a Bud Light. And Lorne, of course, says it's code word for cocaine. Now, she hadn't been answering his call. She told him, I'm going to be at a party. Now, of course, Lorne, he's sitting at home all day. And he doesn't care about boundaries. And yeah, she did tell him, but he didn't like it. So he's going to call. He's been stewing all day. He knows he's insecure. This is important to look into his mind. He knows he's insecure, and that the reason he's so frustrated is because he's insecure. So he needs to find a reason. Instead of admitting to himself that he's got a problem, he has to find reasons to be pissed off. So somehow, her going to this party, living her life, having a good time, being young, it turned into Dan. Now, she didn't bring up Dan, of course. Lorne did. And a lot of you may be right in the fact that I think Lorne daydreams about Dan banging Winnie. Because he knows he can't perform. He would be a cuck. He would be... you know what? I made a video on that, too. So I'm not going to get into that too much. But I do want to mention that Lorne calls instead of, hey, how you doing, sweetie? I just wanted to call and check in. It's, you haven't been answering all my calls all day. Okay? Lorne, hey, how are you, pal? You didn't answer him one time. Yeah, I told you I was going to be at a party. You said tomorrow. Well, Lorne, it's late in the morning. It is tomorrow. And then immediately right back into Dan. He tries coke, right? Because we know Lorne wants to get in the pocket. Do not hang around somebody who's most comfortable inside of that anger pocket. So we know Lorne wants to get in the pocket. So he's trying all of his greatest hits, anything he can to try to get her angry. Now he gets mad when he doesn't really rage, but she fires back, and you can tell the excitement in Lorne's voice. Because now he picked a fight about Dan. And we'll get into that in a minute, but he picked a fight about Dan, and you can feel the self-righteousness coming through his phone. And he wants to call Emma for no reason. He has no moral high ground. He's been calling her a cunt and a slut and a bitch, saying she's cheating. He gets pissed because she won't agree to live with Emma, because we know he thinks Debbie's number one goal is to keep her on coke and to have her get laid all of the time. He even makes the comment that she was better off in the fucking hospital. Can you imagine telling your significant other, yeah, well, that situation where you were better off when you were in the hospital? Yes, Lorne, because you could call, she'd answer, she didn't have any friends, and the ones that she did have come, you were pissed off about. And right there, it tells you all that you need to know. After he's brought up Dan for the billionth time, and she says, I don't want Dan. Yeah, well, you want to fuck him. No, Lorne, I don't want Dan. He doesn't want me anyway. I pooped myself. Lorne just skips over the fact that she mentioned that she pooped herself. The word poop used to make me laugh. Poop. I don't know why that did, but it always used to make me laugh. But when we're talking about Winnie, it does not make me laugh. Unfucking believable. So Lorne continues with the Dan questioning, the Dan interrogation. Winnie's trying to change the subject. She just wants to eat her pretzel. She points out, Lorne, I'm at a party and I've isolated myself to talk to you, to drink a beer and eat a pretzel. But to Lorne, he said, what is that code word for coke? So let me get back to when he calls Emma. In this particular instance, I will give Ember credit. She does a lot of things that I disagree with. I wish she would have handled differently. But she did a lot to keep this dude on the line and protect a bunch of women there in Cornville. I've been in arguments before where I thought I had the moral high ground. And remember, I told you I was untreated bipolar. And once a bipolar person makes up their mind and they decide they're right, they are going to be correct. Lorne whips everything up into a frenzy, gets the conversation exactly where he wants it to be. He wants her to be unhappy. He wants her to be miserable. So he calls Emma, because he's going to tell Emma that she won't stop talking about Dan. This is some Gestapo bullshit. If I called you, and well, most of you, well, all of you are too smart for this bullshit, or you wouldn't be in this community. But if I called you at a party, and you're trying to have a good time, and I'm trying to bring you down and bring you into my anger and give myself a reason to be angry and be able to blame it on you, you'd probably hang up on me. At least that's what I think. You'd hang up on me immediately. But that's just how it is. And that's how it's always going to be, because I can't find a reason for him to do that. I don't understand. There's no reason to do that. Well, there was a cop behind me. I apologize for the noise, and he wasn't making it clear who he was pulling over. Moving on. If I called you and you answered the phone, God, I was sidetracked for a second there. The first thing that you would do is tell me to shut the fuck up. And if I didn't, you'd say I'd call you tomorrow. And here's what Lorne's problem is. I'll call you tomorrow, Lorne. Works himself up all day. You know what he was thinking about. Dan. So he calls her up, gets her angry about Dan. I know I'm backtracking a little bit. After he gets her angry about Dan, he makes that phone call to Emma. And thankfully, Ember, thank you so much for this moment. Emma did not take Lorne's side. She actually listened to herself. That sounds weird, right? I listened to myself. She listened to Winnie. And she took Winnie's side. And she kept trying to interrupt. Emma. Lorne, can I say something? Lorne. And he wouldn't let her talk because he knows. He doesn't care what Emma had to say. He called. He just wanted to spout his bullshit, the stuff he's been thinking about all day. Because with Lorne, remember, I told you, he played the whole scenario out in his head. And it starts burning. It's that little fire. And it starts into this campfire, and then a bonfire, and then a raging inferno, and then the Chicago fire in his head. His chest is tight. His skin is warm. He's angry. He doesn't know how to calm down. So he has to get it all out. And Winnie's not doing it for him. She's not reacting with anger. So he wants that Emma validation. Because validation, it can be second to getting your opponent, your partner, whoever it is, angry. But Emma won't bite. So Lorne goes back to Dan. You want to have sex with Dan. You love Dan. Lorne, I don't love Dan. I have no interest in Dan. Well, you must love Dan. Lorne, you've been drinking. I don't want to talk to you when you're drunk. Yeah, well, coke and, guys and coke and rehab. So my issue with this phone call is one, I don't know why I admit this shit to you guys. I was young. I told you I was working nights, and it was the same girl that I drove by one night to see if she was really home or if she was out. God. I never wanted to be a felon. I didn't want to be that guy. I never meant to do it. I meant to do it. I was tired, bipolar, paranoid. All of that, I didn't know how to handle. I tried to handle it, but I couldn't. I failed. She would go party with her friends. She had a lot of guy friends, which, to be honest with you, I'm not really used to. I'm not. Remember, I was in the Marine Corps. All my friends were guys. There were some females, some very attractive female Marines. I will not get into those stories. But there were a lot of guy friends in her life. And they would go out and party at the lake. There were a couple girls, but mostly guys. And she was very attractive. My insecurities came out. And I called her a bunch of times. I felt like an asshole, because you know what I would have done? I would have tried to keep her on the phone. Looking back, that's one of the most embarrassing moments I've had in relationships. It was not a good time. It was right after after the engagement fell apart, I told you guys about. It was a really dark time. I trusted no one at all. And that was my fault. That was on me. I don't need a woman to make me feel secure. It's my job to feel secure. Lorne would never know that. We know he wouldn't. Because all of those calls where he's telling Winnie, you need to be doing everything in your power to make me feel secure. That's kind of hard to do, Lorne, because you're a jealous, insecure psycho. It's your job to try to fix that, but you won't. You want to blame it on Dan, blame it on parties, cokes, rehab. I don't know if you've ever been a friend to somebody where that's a problem, but here's what I am proud of. I remembered what it was like for me. I remembered the hell I put myself through. If your life is hell, it's your job to fix it. So I fixed mine. There were brief moments where I could feel it coming out, but I knew. I told myself, it's not true. 99% of your worst fears, I rounded down, will never come true. That's fact. Well, at least for most of us. Some people, like Lorne, he creates those situations. So yeah, for him, that's not necessarily true. But if I was to talk to him like I talked to my friend, I would sit him down, and this is what I would say. Lorne, what is it that's making you so insecure and jealous? Well, Dan, and we'd have a discussion about who Dan is and what the root issue is. We know what the root issue is. Dan's got an 8-inch dong. He's 6'3". He's really handsome. And of course, Lorne, he's gross. That's why he doesn't want to come out and meet me. This is his mental gymnastics. He doesn't want to come out and meet me because he knows I'll see he's ugly. It doesn't matter if you think he's ugly, Lorne. The root issue is that Winnie thinks he's attractive. And you can't change that. You tried it with Casey. You tried it with Winnie. You tried it with just about anybody that would listen. Hours, days of calls discussing Dan. And what did it ever get him? More jealousy, more insecurity. Because he keeps asking Winnie for the truth, And she says, the truth is, I find him an attractive man, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna, bang him. We talked about that yesterday in the ownership call. And she even tried, do you remember? She even tried to give Lorne specifics. He's tall. The one specific. Oh, you're attracted to him because he's tall. Okay. She didn't say I wanted to bang him. Well, Winnie, she pushed the envelope a lot. But in this call, she didn't say she wanted to have sex with him. But Lorne, he kept going back to, you want to have sex with Dan. No, Lorne, I don't. And when that didn't work, he went right back to the party about her having fun and coke and Debbie and rehab. So this call highlights specifically what his issues are, that he will never address them, and that he's looking for a scapegoat, and that he'll do whatever it takes to make Winnie miserable whenever she's trying to have fun, especially without him. And he tells her, imagine saying this to a woman, we're 3,500 miles apart, and every moment we're on the phone is precious, whether you know it or not. Lorne, you don't tell a woman what quality time is, because you think, he honestly believes that being on the phone, yelling and screaming, that's quality time, because it's time that they spent together. All this time we spent together, it's not spending time together, you fucking moron. It's not. It's being on the phone and torturing a woman, a younger woman who's trying to live her life, have a good time, and experience it. And because you will never experience life, because you fucked yourself into oblivion, you want everyone else to be miserable. I know this was a bit more emotional than I usually am. It was a little bit more rambling. I understand that. I have a concise, to the point, researched video I will be putting out later today that I think will help you understand why he wants people to be angry and miserable, and he wants them to feel the way he does, and he can't admit to himself why he feels the way he does, and that it's his fault. But I really do love you guys, and if you've stuck with me this far through my videos, I appreciate it, and I'll never stop appreciating it. Thank you for letting me be a part of this community. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.